glasses on.
Okay, let's call this meeting to order at, I don't have the time, I can't see the clock.
Okay, 102.
102. Andrea, could you call the roll, please?
Okay, roll call. Jillian Carey,
Here.
Mike D'Angelo, not here. Andrew Dorney here. Jeff Harms,
Here.
Dave Fisher,
Here.
Mike Lewis,
Here.
Neil Garrell. Is he here online?
I didn't see him online
Okay.
a moment ago.
Okay.
Okay, adoption of the agenda. So there, I did send some updates. So Dave, you had a correspondence that I included. Let's see, there's a map and Ted's report.
information.
Was that it? Seems like there was one other thing.
Yeah, yes. Ted's information, and the lawn care.
Yeah, the lawn care contract, which of course we
share with LAIA.
yes, and it just came in a couple days ago. So, anyways, so those are the additions. And anything that, does anybody else have anything to include or want to change?
Did I make any mistakes in the draft I set out?
Well, wait a minute. We'll get there.
Okay, all right, okay.
Well, and if not, let's, I need a
Oh,
motion.
this
Well-
agenda, not the last agenda. Sorry, I got confused.
If there's a lawn care contract, does that need to be added to this?
It is in here, under unfinished, or new business, the very last. So I uploaded that last night.
Is it 1.5?
It would be, yeah, I-5.
Yeah, it's not on it.
So yes, because I printed off the agenda packet before that came
Yeah.
in, and then, yeah.
I-5 mowing contract.
And then the other two are under Ted's report, and then Dave's email from his field trip.
Okay.
Okay,
Move to approve agenda as amended
sure,
for some of us.
sure. Okay,
Second.
all right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Agenda is adopted as amended. All right, correspondence is received. We had, this is from the board meeting. Brian, I guess, I don't know, was it the day or a couple days before that I did miss it, from Bruce Lowe, which sorry Bruce, I misspelled your first name here, with the attachment. This is regarding the letter that went out, and then from Bruce to residents regarding the lead and copper. And when I read the letter, I was, I could see where he's coming from as far as letting people know that to test their water within, the lead and copper issues are within the home, it tests for that. It's not in our system, we've said this over and over again, but, and he did actually have some good, I think there was a link, or he said to contact the Washtenaw County Health Department, something like that. I've been reading too much lately to remember all the details. And then Dave, you have your, which I didn't include in my packet, but you went to the treatment.
Yeah, I don't want to,
You want to wait?
we don't need to make a big discussion.
How about we?
Oh, okay.
How about we do it with Brandon and
Yeah,
under
we
G1?
Okay.
Chat it up for during Brandon and Ted.
Okay.
It's kind of engineering, technical.
Yeah.
The only, I heard you talking about the flagging. That's kind of a separate topic. And it just, my point is it cuts into F&B's plant time. If their guys out flagging, do we get any consideration from the people pulling the fiber and all that for our cost?
Yeah, do you want to add a thing about design tickets?
But I did, yeah, and I did speak with National Fiber Construction yesterday.
This
So-
wasn't a design ticket, Andrea, this was they're doing it. They're
Yeah, I
working
know,
on it.
but they should have sent a design ticket out, and they didn't.
They didn't.
And DTE didn't send out a design ticket either.
Okay.
So we got no notice, Cole might have had a high priority thing for us, and he's got a day or two to
You
go
have
out.
3 days to mark
Yeah.
it.
Right, yeah, I know, and for a big project like this, they should have sent out a design.
We never seen one.
Yeah. Maybe we should send out a message that we could actually handle the design tickets. I mean, they send the design tickets to us in Dexter, I don't know why they're not sending us in Lhasa.
Maybe
Okay,
they never
let's-
called one in, I don't know.
Maybe they don't know we have a plant.
That could have been too. And then when they got out there, they just called it in and like, oh, wow, there's actually water and sewer here.
Yeah, let's, under your report, let's talk about that in more depth. Is that okay? All right, okay, now is the time for public comments. This is the time for members of the public to speak to the Lhasa Operations Committee for up to 5 minutes on any item on the agenda. And we generally begin with anyone present. We do not have anyone present. So I'm going to check online. All right, anyone online who would like to speak during public comments, please raise your hand. There are no hands raised, so we will close public comments. Okay, Andrea, now we are to acceptance of the minutes. So possible action, February 12th, 2026, Lhasa Operations Meeting Minutes, this draft.
Hope I got everything. Anyways, if you need any changes, just speak up.
So the only comment that I have so far is just when we have the approval of the agenda,
Okay?
just say as amended not with edits.
All right, okay.
And that's consistent when we're approving the other agenda. So-
Okay.
Oh, and one thing, if we take a vote, you'll have to list,
Who said yay?
We say
approve, yeah.
for roll call votes?
So the person that,
Yeah, I got
Was the
motion
motion-
Harms, motion,
Yeah,
yeah,
and then-
and second Fisher.
then you could
or-
say, like when we adopt the agenda, approved 3-0 or whatever, or 3-1. Looks good.
Is that a motion, Kelly?
Yes. I present a motion to adopt to accept the minutes as is for February 12th, 2026.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Minutes are accepted. Thank you. Okay, now on to reports. Brandon, we have, thank you for your January 2026 monthly report. That's great. It is included. And then I just threw some things down here. We talked about some of them, but hopefully, oh, and I did include the mistakes.
Yeah.
And is there, just share anything else that you think is relevant that we haven't?
The polymer pump's been replaced, it's installed. And pump, and I actually just went there before I came here. The blower is here. I'm actually gonna have the mechanical specialist come help Colt throw that in tomorrow. So that'll be back up at the water plant. I think
The blowers for,
the backwash.
backwash?
Yes, it's the blow down blower. It's original. So it was probably due. It's one of those little roots blowers, the little throwaway, chintzy cheap roots blowers.
What's it for? I'm struck, I know you actionate to water to get the iron to drop out.
That's kind of what it's doing.
That's what it's doing?
Yeah, when it backwashes, it goes through a blow down cycle of.
And you're separating
before
the
you do
iron?
the final backwash, which is the backwash, the filter backwash.
Okay, so it's an all-in-one. Dexter has a separate, it doesn't work that way in Dexter, so thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
So the blower and the backwash filter go together?
Yeah, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Yeah, no, that's fine.
This is
I'll
over
have-
at that iron plant, across from the golf course.
Yes.
The clubhouse.
Yes. I can't remember who called me. Oh, that's right, because you have still have the chocolate lab?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, because I've ran into you a few times out there. Yes, thank you for that, because it didn't alarm on SCADA, it didn't call us. Luckily Colt hadn't been there yet anyway. He was there, so he ran right over and then it's like, oh hey, this is why.
Yeah, there was an alarm going off. I knew there was a beeper going off inside
That you don't normally hear.
that I don't normally hear, so I called Brandon.
Oh,
Yes.
thank you.
It was, you walk by there almost every day, I think, don't you? So
Once.
it's
I'll keep an eye on it.
our extra alarm system.
We've got our agents moving around.
But that was a great help, and talking with Jillian, we got it ordered right away. USA Blue Book, it's kind of a standard thing from them. You guys have an account, so it was no biggie to get. And
Told him
she'll be able to put in.
He's no longer allowed to call because it's $3,000 every call. It's like, this broke down. How much is it? $3,000. I'm like, oh my
That's
God.
what seems to be the going.
Nothing gets cheaper.
Nope, it's constantly going up. One thing that Colt and I did find today at the plant, see the look on Jillian's face. There's a rotork valve that modulates the flow coming into the plant, and we were looking at, because we've had some high phosphorus, and we were kind of looking at the flow of the plant hydraulically.
This is attached to the EQ basin, I assume, or part of the EQ?
It's part of it, but it's on the discharge side after your screen, after your flow meter. And so we tried to adjust it. It didn't adjust. So we actually tried to manually adjust it, and it won't manually adjust. It's getting power. We checked that. It is getting power. So I'm thinking that something internal is wrong with it, but I don't know for sure because I'm not an electrician. I think it would be a good idea maybe to have you call UIS and have UIS come take a look and see what it would take to get that. It's stuck in a position now where it's like 200 gallons a minute. It's set at 180, so it's not too much higher than what we have had it set at. And there's a manual valve we could adjust. The reason for this is if we get higher flows, it backs it up, sends it to the EQ basin, and then it makes basically is a big pump and circle where your EQ fills up, and then as the plant can take that flow, it will take it. So I think it is something we should look at.
So
Just
because you
having
can't
units.
adjust it right now?
I can't adjust. There's a manual valve we can adjust, and we're not into high flow situations. So
Well, yes, but April is around the corner.
I said that today. I said that today in Milan.
Yes.
April is around the corner, and it's because surprisingly yesterday with all the rain that you had, you did not spike flow, which was very shocking to me. because I went up almost 1 million gallons in mileage, so. I was checking all my plants with all the rain going, you know, so you didn't spike up as high as I thought you might. So that could be, that's something I think we should probably have UIS look at and get us a price. There'll be a price for them to come out, and then if there's repairs need to be made, they'll give us another
Is
price.
there anything else we can combine it with for UIS? I mean, is there anything on the UIS list that's hanging?
The only thing that would, but I think that was like $8,000.
Can it wait until the meter's in? Because you're going to have the meter connected.
That's a different flow meter, was it?
The 2 meters at the water filtration plant, that once they were installed, you were going to have UIS hook them up the next time, you know, that money was available, so they'd be part of the
Hook them up
SCADA
to
system.
SCADA, yes, that's right.
So, you know, could this be, is this something that can wait, or is it, this is a do it now kind of thing? Because we don't, the meters haven't been installed yet, right?
Well, you guys haven't approved the meters to be installed.
Okay, all
And
right.
that would be through Northern.
Northern, right, yeah, I know it's 2 different projects.
Yeah. I mean, like you said, April's around the corner. I think it's something we should have them come look at.
Okay.
Like I said, we can still manually adjust flow with the manual valve. But it might be, we don't know what it's gonna cost. Maybe it's a new rotork, maybe it's not, maybe it's just something simple. It could be something simple they can come out and fix for half a day's worth of work. It may not be. If they figure it needs a new rotork, now we can plan for that. And we can manually adjust flow that way.
How much is a rotor valve?
It's over $3,000, I can tell you that. They're not cheap.
Would would JK be able to look at the valve?
JK, yeah, if it was
Yeah,
mechanical, if it was mechanical, but I think it's on the electric side.
Electric side?
It's on the electric side. I can't, like, if they've got a manual override on the bottom of them. I can't manually turn it on. Even when I try to force it, it won't do anything. The motor's not running inside.
Okay.
So it could be a circuit board, could be something simple.
The next question, is where it's set right now okay for, as far as the operation of the EQ basin? It's not filling up on you, is it?
No.
No, okay.
It's
still good?
It's still good. It's still good for.
Except for, you said it, usually you only get flow on the EQ basin when the backwash goes off? Or is that?
No, I don't, it might,
That's-
because that happens at
or
midnight.
am I
know.
misremembering that?
Usually in wet weather is when we start seeing the
Yeah,
EQ
okay.
start to fill.
All right, I must
It's-
just
it's
remember
not-
that.
It's not running now at all.
Yeah, it's intended to force water through into the EQ basin if there's too high a flow going into the wastewater plant. So it's probably set for like the normal operation, and it's probably in the right spot. But the danger is high flows might not work for the high flows. That's the danger.
So it's actuated by, interacts with the flow meter,
Yes.
and then if that reaches certain points, it'll continue to open up and set.
It'll continue to open up or modulate down to just maintain a set flow rate.
Sure.
So that we
It's-
don't
it's-
overwhelm.
So you would have to manually know, hey, we're getting into high flow, you'd have to send someone out.
Which, we watch the weather pretty close this time of year.
Everybody does.
That much time.
Well, should we have UIS come out and just inspect it to find out,
I think that would be a good idea.
and then just wait? I mean, if it's still hopefully working, but,
They should be able to say what it is, so.
yeah.
They can at least give us some guidance. It's gonna cost a little bit of money, but they can give us guidance on whether we need to go for it or what.
Service call.
Okay, if you could set that up,
Yeah, can do that.
thank you.
So which meter, scale you on?
Well, we just looked at direct replacement for
Uh-huh.
scale, thinking that, because they were just like, they're not digital, they're not fancy, because I don't want to spend a bunch of money if we're gonna look at UV down the road.
Yeah.
You know, UV and filters and things like that. If we're gonna look at that down the road, I don't want to spend a ton of money on,
Great.
you know, scales and chemical stuff, you know, because it would save you a ton of money with UV. Them chemicals aren't getting any cheaper.
Yeah.
So, the Scaletron, I think, it was the most Right about $3,000.
The economical, or
That was
do
the
you
most
want the
economical.
manual one that isn't gonna break with, when the power's out?
The manual one is what we were looking at. It's direct replacements, what you have there now
Okay,
from Scaletron.
okay.
All right, anything else for Brandon?
Do we want to
Yes.
talk about the fiber?
Oh, yes.
Go ahead, Andrea. I know
Sorry
you.
about that. Yeah, so when you brought that up to me Jeff, were you there? I don't know, I think we had anyways, there was somebody else that was listening, that the way it made it sound was that they wanted the whole neighborhood flagged off right away. And Brandon, at least that's what, yeah, and that would be, what was it, like,
Yeah, what they did was they called in the misdigs. So they did like 5 or 6 for whole streets. And then the next day, so you got 3 days for that one, then the next day, they called in another one. And then the following day, they called in another, or waited a day or two, and then they called in like 5 or 6 more. And Colt's like, whoa, I can't, there's no way I got time to do all this. And it's not really in our contract, because we don't have time. We, like you said, we got a blower to replace. We got things we need to fix. And so what Colt and I did is we put the response code as 003, not marked, need more time. And after Jillian and I talked, before she talked to National Fiber, I told Colt, start at the bottom of the list with the oldest one and just go out and mark them for about an hour a day. Just mark what you can and just work your way through. And then now he's given us a map
yeah.
of where they're at and what they're doing. So Colt's going to try to stay, I said, still like an hour a day, try to stay ahead of them. And you kind of know where they're at and where they're working, and we can kind of stay ahead of them. He was finishing, he actually did that this morning. First thing, he went out there. And then they don't work Fridays. So tomorrow, he'll have a little bit more time to mark and maybe get ahead of them. Because now we have the map, we know where they're at and what they're doing.
Right. And his name was Bill Bellinger, I believe. And I explained our situation. We're not a municipality, we're just a small, a water sewer operation. And he was fine with working with us. So he sent the map over, and hopefully this will work out. But we're not going to, push this and make that number one. There's just no way.
Yeah,
we can't.
be number one priority.
They should have used the design ticket. I mean, I admit, when they came out with the design ticket, I didn't see the utility of it, but after using it in Dexter and having, the design ticket field a lot of this stuff beforehand, and then it makes it a lot smaller, the ones that you actually have to mark. I'm actually kind of a fan of design tickets now, because it reduces our labor a lot in Dexter.
Yes.
And I don't think they knew, I don't know if anybody knew that we have, maps at all. I mean, if we could, if we put out the word maybe that, yes, indeed, we have GIS and we can do design tickets soon.
Yeah, and we can, we have
So
design tickets,
to-
we can share that stuff with them.
Right.
But speaking of design tickets, there was one that did come up.
Yeah.
They called it in as a design ticket, and they said they weren't digging more than 12 inches. On Midway Drive, like on the corner of Midway Drive, it's a lot more.
That new house?
They called it in as a design ticket. I haven't been down there, and Colt and I were talking about it. We had all the missed digs, and I said, well, they're digging 12 inches. We don't have anything that deep. Just mark it as good.
Shallow.
Yeah, it's so shallow, yeah. We're like, whatever.
Yeah. Is
And-
that vacant lot on Midway that they're gonna build a house on, I
Yeah,
assume?
but they called the emergency line and wanted marked. And on the emergency line, they told us that they were actually going to put a new house. They wanted for water and sewer tap. That's not what you said in your misdig ticket. You said you were only digging 12 inches.
Right, okay. Yeah, that came up at the LAIA meeting yesterday.
Yeah, I didn't know there was a new house going in there.
I didn't know until yesterday either.
Exactly. So we're like, oh, that's good. It's good for LASA to have more customers to spread their, their needs out to.
We'll be reviewing
Okay,
during budget. Yeah.
right. So I don't know if, you know, when you went to see the Colt at the wastewater treatment plant.
Yeah, I'm like Mike here, I'm out walking and I go by, like I said, I saw the gate open, so I just wandered in and, you know, I introduced myself and I said, you know, you got a minute or two, so we walked around. And I just, you know, kind of knew we had that shortfall removal. And sure enough, you go to the tricklings and there's a layer of ice on the outer edge of both of them. It's been a rough winter, been a really rough winter. But, you know, it's like, he was mainly pointing out, and you could just see a lot of the ports on the arms are plugged. And he said he's got to go in there with a, you know, pencil. He theorized leaves, and I'm like, how are leaves getting into that?
They come from the Imhoff tank.
So they land on top of the Imhoff, and then
And they'll eventually they'll
Go
sink a
over.
little bit and then get washed down into the trickling filter, and then it plugs
So-
them up.
yeah, so that, you know, that's just something that is something to think about. And then there are trees right on the fence line there that still have a lot of leaves on them too. So I don't, you know, you're not going to stop the leaves in the fall, but then, you know, that kind of led me also to doing a little bit of a down the rabbit hole on the Imhoff tank, which I think that thing's been there since 50 something.
It's
I think it's
So
like
it's
The original
like
equipment.
53,
70 years
56,
old.
something like that.
And I believe it's functioning as our primary initial clarifier. And then if you go
And it's our digester, right?
yeah,
It does act kind of like a digester.
Yeah, it's our digester and a
that's what it
clarifier at the
is.
same
That's what it's
time.
supposed to act like.
Right,
Because I bounced it off Andrea and she was like, I think they're pumping the solids out like.
yeah, the scum off the
month.
top, yes.
But you're fully clearing the solids out every month?
As much as they can do with one truckload.
So then you go look at the old, you know, operating manuals for Imhoff tanks. The idea is to keep
A sludge layer.
some solids
Yes.
down there to be anaerobic and you know, participate in the removal. I'm just wondering, is the whole thing, is the Imhoff just, you know, undersized for our flow? I wouldn't be surprised.
To an extent, it would be more a question for Ted, but I'm assuming.
So we're just, you know, flowing through it, and then I'm wondering, in that case, between stirring up the sludge by pumping it all the time, and maybe, I don't know, you ever observe scum coming off the top too?
Not
too much?
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's probably just, you know, a very badly designed clarifier right now.
Yeah, I did go round and round with the septic hauler because he didn't understand it. Because he was trying to get all the solids off the top. I said, stop. Just pump off one truckload's worth. That's all I need. And it just, so there's always still just a little bit of
Do
scum.
you guys
running on
ever
top.
gauge the top of the sludge blanket?
I haven't, no.
I mean, there's some rule of thumb, you keep it like 18 inches below the slot. And I don't know, did they ever clear the slot or there's these two plates that kind of look like that.
Yeah.
And yet you're supposed to kind of
Right, yeah, the.
neatly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that way,
You see
you know,
these,
yeah.
I printed it off in case you want to see what we're reading.
And I'm not-
a while since I looked at those blueprints.
We don't need to go into a deep dive here, it's just some,
Right.
you know, things that are interesting. Especially if we're going to eventually put tertiary in and, you know,
Right.
should we be looking, you know, at the front end and making that better for our plant? Because, you know, it's like everything, if we do a good job there, it makes it easier for everything downstream.
Right.
So,
And that's something that, yeah, definitely could, because you've got potentially 50 new homes, you know. In the last year, we've had 2 with lots that are available, you know, now the other one. And I've seen a pretty big growth in other communities up in this area, Brighton, they're growing a lot. And if people want to add to our sewer system, it might not be a bad idea to add maybe to a primary clarifier or something, you know?
Right, yeah, the Imhoff tank is difficult because it's actually 2 units in one. And if you replace it, you're going to have
sludge handling.
sludge handling and a clarifier.
Yes.
And that's a bottleneck right there. You know, it's going to be expensive replacement.
And we don't, the footprint is not huge.
And, yeah,
So-
right, yes, and it's very tight in there.
But, clearly.
Anyway,
a piece of
we're running
precious
over into
equipment that's
Ted's category here.
70 years old is probably
Yes.
beyond life, I would say. Maybe not. I mean, there's no cracks in it. Looks,
I am all for keeping things going as long as you can,
yeah, sure.
but, that's part of the, there's also the Eagle piece. Right now, this is okay, but, Eagle may say it's not okay at some date. So let's keep this running as long as we can, and Eagle says it's okay, but we need a plan
Right,
for the next step after this.
yeah.
And it might be a
Options.
significant one. If we keep kicking the can down the road, it's just going to get more and more expensive.
Or, yes,
Well, let's-
yeah, so, yeah, we're definitely kind of moved into,
Well, maybe that could be a topic at one of our meetings, just talk about,
how the plan, we
A
could
plan,
do
a
a
potential
field,
plan.
meeting and
yeah, that,
I mean, getting to the plant and walking around and talking.
so everybody knows
I call them
what's
colts. Is
there.
it Colt or?
Colt.
Colt, okay.
Colt like the horse.
Okay. Because I saw him as Cole in the minutes too, so.
and there's Brian Cole as
Okay.
well.
Oh.
So,
No,
yeah,
he's the new,
yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, well, let's plan a field trip when the weather gets a little bit better. Yeah, and then we really should
Yeah,
start
just
planning, and we,
look around.
because, yeah, we have the Tyndall, to beat by 2048. And, that's, the filters and upgrade, if that, I'd like to know, on the next Eagle, when we get the letter from Eagle for the next 5 years, that we just have to do the filters and,
The next permit.
and also arms were on Ted's list, was putting new arms
New trickling
also
filter arms.
for the
There's
treatment
significant leakage
filters.
on the one at the center pivot too.
Right,
So that water's just
Yeah.
going straight down the stem.
right,
No,
yeah, give them
those
some
arms
love.
are pretty old. And the other thing that I know Ted and I've talked about is additional biosolid storage.
Right, because that
you're
impound
hauling
tank's small,
3 or
yeah.
4 times a year, and because we're not just wasting off the IMHOF a little bit, we're also wasting off the secondary clarifier as well.
Right.
So
Okay.
then you're hauling, about
So
3
you're
to 4
using the
times a year.
secondary clarifier as storage? Oh, that's not good.
No, the secondary clarifier.
He's got the sludge.
You still have the slough off that goes in the bottom of the secondary clarifier.
Fires,
So
okay,
we waste off of that a little bit too.
okay.
Ted, do you have anything to contribute for this topic at this time?
Yes, my thought would be to ditch both the IMHOP and the trickling filter with the extended air process, whether you did a little oxidation ditch or aeration tank size right, replace both those situations. The IMOF could be converted to sludge storage and then maybe added sludge storage, but you get rid of the need for a primary tank if you go extended air. So that would be my first thought.
You're reading my mind.
I don't know how it fits on site. I don't know anything other than getting away from the trickling filter and the IMHOP would be a good idea, but I would do that in combination.
Right, yeah, they all work together, and yeah, you're gonna end up having to coordinate all of this, especially with the Tyndall things. We're not done with, and speaking of which, we're not done with the Neo trial at Dexter. We're hoping to get that finished by the end of the month, and are gonna write the results for Neo FX, which is a combination of cerium and lanthanum. And when you use it in combination with a tertiary filter, it rocks. It really does.
Okay.
And
Cool.
it works way better with the tertiary filter than the ferric does. It cleans right off. It doesn't stick to the filters like ferric, and the ferric burned through our tertiary filters, right through the wall, and we had to, pull it all apart and weld it back together. And the Neo the pH is 4.5. It's just so awesome. We haven't had any pH problems. We had to split the feed in Dexter into 3 parts to get enough buffering to actually use it. And we can feed all of it at one spot without any pH problems at all. The big snag is Eagle, trying to get over the Tyndall hurdle, and the Eagle's concerned about it killing wildlife, the biota in the river. But if it reacts so fast, I don't see how there would be any left to react once you hit the river. This stuff, it reacts really fast, but frankly far faster than ferric, and it doesn't release the phosphorus again after you
Okay,
use
so
it.
as it gets older, it doesn't release
It doesn't re-release it like ferric does.
Okay.
So I'm hoping that we can get this approved this summer, and then when we do the design here, we can, switch to that. But that's dependent on Eagle, and you never know what Eagle's gonna do.
Was that I'm not familiar with that. Is that a study you did with our engineering? Or
We originally, back in 2018, we tried to do it with F&V, and it didn't work, it didn't fly. This time, we're doing it by ourselves with, the Neo company.
Okay, directly.
And directly, and, it works so well combined with the tertiary filters. It's really impressive.
Yeah, because I know they were trying something different at Leone because the ferric was blinding off their MBBR filter or MBR filters.
Right. Yeah, it's really tough. It's way easier to clean off than ferric is.
Well, let's.
Sorry, off the top
Sorry.
again.
Yeah,
Sorry.
And actually, that will be helpful down the road.
Road,
when you
right.
talk about the replacement there. So Ted, Brandon, anything else for you?
Well, actually, we haven't gotten to Ted stuff.
Well, I know, but if we're still on Brandon, okay, great.
I still have a question for Brandon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
And it may lead into Ted. So, just in looking at it and the questions that I had, I know when the subdivision was built, and has there ever been a disconnect program in Loch Alpine? Was there ever one done in like the 80s and 90s? A lot of the
What do you mean by disconnect program?
floor drains and perimeter
right.
drains
Right.
disconnected from sanitary.
So the
Okay.
only thing that
Stormwater?
the program that I know that I don't know when it was started, but when we took over, we continued it. Point of sale inspection. So when a house is sold in Loch Alpine, we go in, we get the final meter read, but we also we have a checklist. We look for sump pumps tied into sanitary is the big one. And it also says floor drains tied into sanitary. I can't see that. I don't have X-ray vision. So we just check for sump pumps. That's the best we can do. And
Right.
I have not found sump pumps that are tied into sanitary, where I can see them anyway.
Yeah.
You know,
A lot of the problems is no sump pumps.
there is
And
not.
that's when you got, in the 50s and 60s, when I think these houses were built, the answer was not put a sump pump in and actually run your perimeter drains, if it had one, or your floor drain directly into your sanitary. And that's what the program was tracking those down and having people put in sump pumps, because it saved people the cost of putting in a sump pump. And so a lot of sanitary systems, they've gone through and found out if they had cross connects to eliminate the extra water, because when it rains, all that stuff's, you're treating rainwater.
You're treating rainwater.
And I just really question if some of the stuff that we're running into is because we've got a lot of water infiltration. Now, I mean, that can happen with your pipes too, but the houses are a big one, especially if people tie in downspouts and stuff. If they tied them into their perimeter drains, now all of a sudden you're draining their roofs. You're draining all kinds of stuff, or anything that comes down around the foundations. It's a problem.
Very true. I don't know if there's ever was a plan for that. I don't know.
There is the SESS that, Ted sent to me, where, they were doing that kind of evaluation.
So Ted, what's your comments on that? It's your time anyways.
I think the answer is there wasn't a disconnect program for the older houses. It's pretty expensive. I mean, it was Ann Arbor did it, and it was they put sump pumps in houses, and it's pretty unpopular. Um, I'm in that district, and I don't have one, and I'm happy for that. So, um, but I, there's the original kind of 1950s houses, and there's probably over half the houses are older than that, and they probably have sump pumps. The when we did the meters, I think they looked at the sump pumps too, but I don't have that information at my fingertips.
Okay.
And as Brandon said, the point of sale inspections, they always check whether the sump pumps are disconnected. But you are correct. There's going to be some houses without sump pumps that have footing drains connected.
There's a lot, there's quite a few of them that I've found.
Yep, that's what I thought.
And if we had a disconnect program, what would that look like?
We'd have to talk about any kind of thing like that. I was just curious if one happened.
The Ann Arbor, they did it through the SRF, and it was like $8,000 or $9,000 a house, like 20 years ago.
Yes.
And it's, I don't know. Like I said, it wasn't particularly popular.
Mike and Dave, do you have sump pumps?
I don't have a
Yeah.
sump pump.
You don't?
Nope.
Yeah, mine's a newer house, Eastgate, so
Oh, okay.
Mine's an older house. It doesn't have a sump pump.
I cursed
So
myself.
we'll start with you with the disconnect program.
Oh, all of my downspouts are not connected to the sewer.
What I want to do is have those directional driller guys come and tap into mine, because I'm up high and I can just go out to the pond. Like a gravity train. Probably not legal, but.
On that, our water conditioner, effluent from your water conditioner, where is that supposed to go? In other words, is that
So
supposed to
for-
go into sewer?
From an air conditioner?
No, from water softener.
I'm sorry,
Water softener
softener.
discharge.
Mine goes in, the builder put in a drain from that over to the sump. So it's
Mine goes into a dry well.
getting pumped out.
I think mine goes in the sewer.
Right outside.
That's,
You're gonna
but
run
I
sump pump.
thought I had heard it once.
No, it's,
It's
yeah,
not
going in
supposed
the
to go in the
sump,
sewer.
yeah, that's where it's sump.
No, the water softeners aren't supposed to go. It used to
I
be,
can't-
but not, like, now the guidance is don't put it in the sewer.
The salt?
That's
Because
what I
the salt.
figured, but I think mine is going, I'll have to look at that again.
It could be that all new MPDS permits are getting chloride and sulfate. The first one that I had was.
Yeah, I know, it's this time around they're doing it.
And that's a lot to do why, I think. Because they're using salt. And there's a lot of salt in it, so.
Yeah, especially when they flush.
Yeah, that's
Seriously high. Yeah, no, that's supposed to be going onto the ground.
And I think
Or a dry well.
they're gonna put a limit on it. This is kind of like.
Yeah, that's
the
one of the-
start of it, and then they're gonna probably put a limit.
So these are all things.
One of the
that-
things we're waiting for in the new letter, that's what we're waiting for too, for them to say, no more water softeners.
Yeah, my house was built in '99, so I guess, I don't know if it was, I would assume it was done to code at the time.
That's pretty common.
Yeah, is it?
No, it's common. The builders do it all the time because, plus it kills the grass out back or wherever they do it, and then the property owners aren't happy with it, so builders do it all the time, and they're not supposed to.
I do have one last question. So I've been emailing back and forth with the sewer cleaner guy, because he's gonna be up next week. He says it's gonna take him about a week. I have a notice to put out to the website for,
I have,
sewer toilet explosions type things, But he asked, do you have who we should additionally insure for this project?
Rogue?
Yes,
asking?
Rogue is asking if there should be somebody added as additional insurer.
Probably Lhasa.
That's what I was thinking, that's what I wanted to make sure of.
Yeah, they're doing it for us. They're a contractor for us. We should be additionally insured.
Okay, if you guys have
Absolutely.
language, because he's asking for language.
You can ask Matt, but I'm almost certain any contractor that works for us, we should be additionally insured.
Okay,
That's standard practice.
I'll forward this on to you, Jillian, if you wanna get with Matt.
Or the insurance company, Decker.
They just spoke with both of them. We're behind the ball here. Okay, so I did include the sewer cleaning notice under I2, but we can talk about that later.
With the old dates on it?
Well, those are highlighted to
Highlighted to
be,
be, right, changed?
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I've got it
Okay.
changed already for you, Andrea.
All right,
Yeah,
okay.
Are we
I figured it was just a placeholder.
well, and if everybody's okay with that, we can just mark that off our list here.
Sure. We're
Do
marking
you want
which off our
to, do
list?
you want to add a
Well-
phone number to call at the bottom or something to the letter, or is,
We didn't the last time because they have the emergency line that everybody has.
you could still, but everybody
We
doesn't
could
have
do
the
that.
emergency line.
Yeah,
The
Every
emergency
goes
line,
through
no, you should stick your, yeah, you should at least stick, you should stick that on, I would prefer that all the correspondence that goes out to every resident have the regular line and emergency line and somewhere on the page in a footer or a header, frankly.
Okay. Yeah, I can throw it on there.
everybody okay with that?
Yeah,
Absolutely.
it should.
Because people don't.
Because
look at
people don't
those
remember it.
magnets on their fridge.
That, we don't
Whatever
have
they
any
get.
magnets.
Or
I
whatever
want
they
to do
get.
magnets.
Yes.
Yes, we need to do magnets so they can stick it on their fridge, so at least, a couple, it'll reach a couple people.
Well, you know what, why don't we have that as an agenda item, because since we'll be talking about budgets and,
For next year,
yeah,
or
well,
Agenda item for
magnets,
here or
yeah, for
or
ops,
emergency, okay.
because we'll have to
emergency.
recommend the design to the
Yes.
board, and then the board will have to approve it.
Recommend.
But all these things that we need for this new budget season, we should be talking about now and planning. Yeah,
Great, yeah, and I would prefer, yeah, we have a header and footer with all the, regular and emergency information there. Something simple.
we do have a LASA letter template, but let me put that on the next agenda, because
Okay.
it's like,
Letter template.
So are we on Ted now?
Yeah, okay, sorry.
and we're good with the notice, so we can, even though we skipped ahead, but we'll mark that off. Yeah, Ted? You
So-
have,
Back to Ted.
You guys are talking about water flows. Can you see the screen? Is my share working?
Yes.
Yeah.
So basically, the green is the monthly average wastewater flow, and the blue is water. To your point, like you can see, the last month we had more wastewater than we did water. So obviously there's infiltration happening, and that sump pump could obviously be a source. So this wasn't on my list of things to talk about, but
That's
we were
just
talking
you.
about it. So
Yeah. I'm just saying in the future, Ted, we should probably look into and discuss that. We don't have to do it today.
Yeah.
Just-
no, like you can see it kind of tracks pretty well sometimes. And it's way off other times and whatever. So I just keep a running graph just so it's handy. Anyway, back to our regularly scheduled stuff here. The PMP was sent to Eagle. That's an old item. Tower painting. That work is going to happen in mid-April, I guess. I don't have the exact dates yet. There is a
Depending on weather, I presume.
there's a pre-construction meeting set for 4/3 at Scioto Township Hall. I don't have the schedule, Andrea, so I don't.
Okay, right.
We'll work
Yeah,
that
well,
out.
it's all weather dependent anyways for painting.
Yeah,
They can do the maintenance first, that we just need a dry stretch for the final paint job.
and Ted, I sent that email from Neil to you, I believe. There is an easement, or Brandon, I think.
so we did a bunch of easement reviews in the past, and I don't see where that easement is. That house is like 2 or 3 lots north. Well, we can go on to our next piece of agenda here. So I believe that house is like one of these up here. I'm in the wrong spot. No, that house is one of these up here, and the tower is here. So I don't really understand how that
Maybe,
impacts it.
Okay.
I think it's this house here, this parcel here, and I couldn't. I don't. You know, when we did the easement review, we didn't come up with anything. All this land back here is the north, that development that's proposed is back here. So this piece of land is owned by them. So I don't know the answer to the question because I don't have an easement,
okay.
and the house is in the wrong spot to be useful if you, from my perspective.
Okay. All right.
But this is the GIS system as we have it.
Oh.
So it was kind of handy that you asked me that question so I could pop it open. I mean, still a work in progress. I think we need a few things on here as I look at it, but you know, one of the things that you can do is click on a sewer potentially, and
Yeah, it's,
get the cleaning report by just finding it. So
wow.
I mean, there's a lot of functionality to this. It's, you know, like I said, just a preliminary review, but this has the water is blue and the sewer is the green. So we shared the layers with the cleaning people, so they're gonna do their work associated with the GIS system. Then we can upload that kind of automatically. So
They're also, the sewer cleaning people have something new to them. Essentially, it's like a scan of the manhole. They'll take the camera and they will inspect the manhole going down, and they want to try it out. They have got very little experience with it, and they're like, we can do this for lots of this time, you know, and see, just so we can get some experience with it. So we could have, maybe they'll do all of them, maybe they'll just do a handful of them, but we'll get some of those that they can upload right to that, where you can see the structure and condition of the manholes.
I've seen those. It's a 3D scan.
Yeah.
Does a
I've never
3D
seen
scan. You still need to do your inspection.
Yes. Yes.
But yeah.
He said, we have this available and we can.
If they're willing to do it with no cost, yeah, I think it's great.
Exactly.
And give us a good idea with a lot of it.
Yeah. Well, this is exciting. This is our, maiden
Yeah,
voyage here.
Yeah, this is great doing this.
we have, like, up here we have the curb stops that, you know, from the newer water main. So we collected what we could and got it on here. So
If we do mystics in the future, this is what you're going to be using.
and there's a phone app too, right? So that
Yep.
the ArcGIS collector, I think it is, and it's pretty robust on your phone. So I think this will save a little bit of time and effort for all those things.
Phones have gotten a lot, their accuracy's gotten a lot better too in the last like 5 to 10 years.
Yeah. So I mean, it's you know, it's a lot of wash, rinse, and repeat until you need something. But I just kind of wanted to pop it open.
Looks good.
And after the water tower painting, we can see if they're Comcast or Verizon or whatever will rent our water tower so we can get better reception out there.
I think Verizon, or something like that, right? Someone paid some money to have Alpine.
Did they?
Yeah, we got some kind of
I don't know anything about that.
Comcast, I think, or somebody for the tower.
For the tower? Do we rent the
I
tower?
thought something.
I don't think anything's on
There's
it.
nothing on the tower.
There's
Yeah.
nothing on, there's nothing on the tower.
Nothing on it. But that's what Jillian's saying, is that maybe somebody wants to.
Can we do that
I
here
think
for
it's
Silo?
AT&T that's bringing in the fiber.
Is that who it is?
Yeah, they've been talking about that since I moved in.
Right, yeah,
So
but
internet
Now it
they're
happens,
only,
but I don't tell anybody. It's fiber.
right, it's only, you know, North Delhi Hills and Eastgate to Sutherland. It's, do you have the map? Did they send you the map for AT&T?
Xfinity, I'm
No.
tired of them too.
Okay.
It's just the top, it's the northern.
They sent a National Fiber sent us the
Oh.
map, and yeah, it's like Eastgate.
Gate, oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, and it was last night, I didn't have a chance to open it.
Right, okay.
This is like down Aberdeen and
Well, they've got Glen all marked out, they're not in there yet, but
they're,
Miss Dig's been in there anyways.
But that's for DTE, that's not for, is that for
Well-
DTE or is that for AT&T?
Okay, we've gone down a rabbit.
Sorry,
Yeah,
okay,
I don't know, let's be honest with you, I don't know.
Okay.
It's easy to
sorry.
No.
All right, Ted,
So the next thing I have is sewer cleaning. Obviously, Rogue is happening. We started putting a map together, more of a nuanced program to do 6,000 to 7,000 feet per year, kind of pushing everything in towards the interceptor, kind of from north to south-ish, mostly because that's downhill. So this is a working copy. Brandon and I need to kind of go through it and review it, but like so like the different colors kind of are the different years, kind of the priority. Just like I said, pushing everything downhill towards that. So trying to get like a plan in place on how this could get cleaned on a
yeah,
kind of a 8 to 10 year rolling basis.
yes, and then this will help us with our capital improvement plan every year and our budget, so we can and we know exactly what we're gonna do, and, yeah, this is great, Ted.
It's
Will-
it's really hard to get the like that exact number because you're trying to like this area needs to get cleaned all together, just how it's constructed, right? And then this all comes up through here to the interceptor here. So we're trying to find it. So we have all the distances listed. So it's a matter of like how you break it down. So we just haven't. We just need to go through it and kind of make sure we're all on the same page.
Ted, which section, or where was that house that had the backup located?
East Alpine Drive and Bridgeway, the corner,
Here, like it was
South-
this one, 41.
southwest corner.
Yeah.
Okay. This is great, and it seems like a really good proposal to stay, get going on it, stay ahead of it. But I did notice, I was looking at it, there's two little funny areas that, Ted probably, and Brandon knows about them, but there's that, up on Loch Alpine, east to west, up on the top, there's this strange, we're connecting those two pretty big branches coming down to the 12-inch, but it's instead of being a 10, it's an 8-inch, like a little right to the left of where the green comes over to where the blue and the purple go. That little
Here.
section, is that 8-inch?
Probably.
Yeah, I mean most of them had transitions to 10, and then over. I didn't know whether that's like a little bit of a weird bottleneck. And then there's another little one down by Climbing Way and Bridgeway, I think.
It really matters where the sewer. If it's flat, you get less
Sure,
flow.
okay.
If you get the steeper,
So if you got enough, yeah, I got you.
So I mean, it really depends on like.
It can handle the flow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and,
okay.
and if it's a steeper slope,
I
you're
just noticed them. I was just
Yeah.
wondering about it.
like the minimum slope is the flow capacity of an 8-inch sewer for the minimum slope is like 230 gallons a minute, and I think that's the kind of the overall flow for the development on an average basis. So,
Thanks.
I mean, you're probably without knowing the slopes or digging into it, you're probably okay, and we haven't had any problems, right, Brandon? So
Not there.
I hear what you're saying, but there's a lot of different things into it than just the size.
Yeah, thanks.
The areas that are gonna be a challenge are the ones that are not on the roadway.
The interceptor going through here.
Well, not just that, but up on Northgate, there's a section that goes behind houses.
Oh yeah. Or here, and then this area too, right? Some of this has been lying through here. I know that.
Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge to get cleaned, because sometimes you can go through the manhole. We've done it before, I've done it before where the jetter will go through the manhole just fine, but coming back, not always the easiest.
And
So,
that might have to be August work, right? Not April?
yes, yes. It might have to be August work, or might be a little bit more in depth.
And the golf course isn't so maintained anymore, so this is probably under weeds too, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Um,
this is great.
then the last thing on my list was the development. They're asking me for a review for the capacity. Well, asking Loch Alpine for a review for the capacity. We've looked at this before a couple times. I want to relook at my numbers and all that. I mean, I'm probably looking at like a $5,000 to $6,000 cost. Is that something that you guys want to? I mean, how do we want to handle that? If a $5,000 to $6,000 cost for us to do the review.
So you said you visited this in the past. Do we have any information from the past that we could use?
We do, but the rules have changed as the Tyndall is in place, and
Yes.
Well, I recall we talked about updates that might be required from a treatment standpoint if we added those. And then one of the things that we talked about in general was adding that to the cost of each of the taps. So they'd be able to make whatever modifications necessary to treat. I don't remember what the numbers were, Ted, but I think that was one of the discussions.
But Ted, you're just talking about review costs, right? Like, we should have gotten escrow from them to basically put towards your time.
that's one way to
Correct.
handle it. Yeah, that's what I would suggest.
Good point.
Yeah. I mean, technically, the people of Loch Alpine should not pick up the cost for a developer.
That's
I mean,
right.
they call me today and ask, we just want a back of the napkin thing. I'm like, well, I'm not really comfortable with that because if you guys buy the property on a back of a napkin analysis, that's not right. I'm not, we're
Yeah.
taking risk, and I'm not down with that. So,
No, I agree with you. I don't know how the board should handle that, because I don't think that this has technically been, I mean, the analysis, I think, was done, but I don't know who paid for it. And if that's something that we need, you have an estimated cost of $5,000 to $6,000 for a review and whatnot, the developer should technically pay for it. So I don't know how we handle that.
I think that this should be a board discussion.
Yeah, I think so too. I think we're gonna have to hold off until the board discusses it.
Yeah, and I know that Tony Chirco,
Right.
he emailed both Webster and SIO requesting construct, or whatever, the very initial conversations. Yeah, so they could still get information from the townships, but it's really going to depend on what our
Depends.
decision.
Depends on this,
Yeah.
what they're, so, I mean, the bottom line is, we're gonna have to talk to them, probably recommend to them if you wanna know what that's gonna cost, or what the capacity is, it's gonna cost $5,000 to $6,000.
Yep, okay, I'll put this on the board agenda.
You said it's on our
A thought, because you mentioned escrow, and I don't know how this works, but Ted's estimating 5 to 6.
Yep.
But if it goes more than that, would it be in Loch Alpine's best interest to maybe ask for, just throw a round number, 10,000 in escrow
Sure.
to cover any costs? Maybe a little bit additional in case maybe there's some additional on our end, I don't know without.
Absolutely,
You know what I'm
I mean,
saying?
and that's
It's a valid point.
Ted's given his cost what he thinks it's gonna be, but the fact is, coming back to it, Ted, would you recommend, say, 10 grand, 8 grand?
yeah, and that could be a place if whatever's not used for this, if they go forward. If they don't go
Right.
forward, you give it back. If they do go forward, then we're gonna want to look at the sewers and all that crap too. So I mean, like, there's more work to do in the future.
And I don't know how we're in place, I mean, what we have in place that we can do in escrow. I mean, that's usually done through our planning, our zoning person does that kind of stuff when she does review. I don't know, I assume your people do too, Julian, so.
Yeah,
So I don't know who the escrow account would be handled through.
Well, I guess that would be the board, because, I mean, we'll talk about that at the board
Yeah.
meeting on March 23rd, because, you know, SIO is now doing AP and whatnot, and maybe there's something that we could set up, or they already have, I don't know.
Right,
That's not my department.
right. I think we need to look into it.
Okay.
But that's a good idea for us to get that kind of number so we know. That's a wise choice, yeah, you go over. Giving money back is better than going after money afterwards.
Okay, do we need to take a vote on this, or,
No,
no, okay.
I don't think so. I mean, they're there, the board knows, or the committee knows.
Yeah.
It's just something that we'll have on the thing that's come up, that it's gonna be a cost.
I mean, I'm fairly certain this is going to trigger, you know, the need for the filter, which also, you know, allows the UV to happen. So just based on the phosphorus limits, I know it's going to trigger the filter. So there's also like how do you allocate that cost? So
Right.
Great. Well, and there's also,
Which is- yeah.
been raised, we
Yeah, and there's.
did not approve the tap fees the raising of the tap fees back in 2019, so we're still under the old.
That's a whole different discussion.
Yep.
That was brought before us by Woodhill with
Yep.
tap fees. That was 2 years ago, wasn't it?
2019, I think?
No,
Was-
2 years ago.
it
That
was
they-
2019. It was 2019 that that I don't remember. Deloitte and Touche did a study, and it was actually in reaction to the same property being developed because we want to make sure we had the 2015 water main captured. I mean, there hasn't been but 3 or 4 houses since. But if you did, and the golf course too, the golf course development. So we want to make sure we had the right tap-in fee captured in case those 2 things happen. So.
Okay, well, that should definitely be part of our budget discussion, or when we go to approve. And we'll also have water and sewer rates that we'll have to be looking at as well.
Right.
Okay, all right, I have that down. Ted, anything else regarding this development?
No, this is the plan they sent me, which is just a
That's all.
picture of some lots, so, but whatever.
Provided that as well to us.
I mean,
And I did give that to our planner, Laura Krebs, so thanks.
I think that's all that was on my list. Yeah.
Okay, great, thank you. Andrea, let's move on to LAIA report.
Okay, all right, there was an LAI meeting yesterday. DTE was there because people were irate with them, and they gave a presentation with a map of the 2 substations that fuel Loch Alpine with, you know, Kingsley and Spruce substations, and they were talking about why the power outages were happening, and they also talked about the underground cable they have to replace in Holloway up to Northgate, and they were talking through the plans that they are going to be doing in the Lhasa, you know, area. They got they're putting in some reclosers that are going to go in the spring, some, you know, smart metering to adjust the system. And in 2027, they said they wanted to upgrade the poles to a higher voltage, and they have, and of course there's always tree trimming. But they're working to upgrade the infrastructure, and the board asked a bunch of questions, and they basically said, well, we'll get back to you and give you a pamphlet later, and when I get it, I'll forward it to you. The Holly Way project is supposed to be done by the end of the month, which I assume, or at least that's what they're saying.
What is that, Hollyway?
Holly Way project, the DTE
Oh,
project
okay.
on Holly Way. They're hoping to have it done by the end of the month. They also volunteered to be at the annual meeting, which is on March 27th, but the board president said, maybe we'll make this a separate meeting, because he didn't want, that to swamp the meeting. The and also AT&T fiber came up, because they got a map, and, and they were talking to the LAIA folks. A discussion about Lou Whaley happened. Lou Whaley's had enough and is looking for an exit for the golf course properties. And he's trying to figure out, how to sell this, to make up his costs that he's already sunk into this. The LAIA now has keys to the clubhouse, and they're trying to keep vandals out because people keep breaking in. The last time they broke in, they got in the electrical room. They had a builder come in and check the building, and as right now it's sound. Same with the pool structure is sound. So, if whoever, gets it next, it's not going to be an immediate tear down, at least right now, as they can keep further damage from happening to it. And I'm sure this is going to be a big agenda item on the annual meeting on the 27th. The
Is he
board,
looking again for LAIA to buy it?
he's trying to get LAIA to buy it again. And he wants LAIA to buy it and turn it into a charitable trust so he can write it off on his taxes. And turn it into a charitable trust. Anyways, and as far as the road commission from LAIA is requesting that you repair the valve box to pump house 2 in the street. They say it's broken.
I'll have to look at it.
Yeah, they say the valve box is busted at the pump, in the street to the pump house for 2 and 3.
Okay, I'll have to look at that.
Right. And also, Grounds would like the A1 lawn care contract approved. They're planning to, they've already approved it on their end.
Okay.
So that's the news from LAIA.
Okay, great. All right, I have a few things here. Good news this morning. Our area is now on the national priority list for the Gelman plume with the EPA Superfund. So we have many more years of steps to go, but this is huge. So hopefully this will help our community as a whole. And I know Loch Alpine doesn't have the issue, and it's not going to have the issue, but for Washtenaw County, this is big. That came through this morning. Jeff had a really great idea. So,
Occasionally.
well, it was your idea. I created a binder based on what Jeff had some good ideas regarding this. This binder I will bring to the ops meetings and the board meetings. This includes our articles, policies, our capital improvement plan, our budget, operations duties when we get around to that. I'm revising our yearly schedule. I've requested Brandon and Andrea to provide a schedule of the reports that we need to do for Eagle. I would like to have when things are like every 3 years, we need to have something, I can't remember what it was.
I have not, the MPS permit renewal.
Yes.
Is every 5, and the sanitary surveys are every 3 years, and EPA has the emergency response plan thing every 5 years, isn't that's coming up this year? The certification for emergency response plans for drinking water, I believe it's this year or next.
Yeah.
I'd have to look it up.
So anything like that goes on this list, and it's, of course, you know what needs to be done. It's just that we don't always know. And this binder, hopefully, will just, when there's new boards, we can just pass it along. They'll have the information. Of course, not everything will be in here, but it will be really helpful. So we don't have to recreate the wheel. Every board won't have to recreate the wheel. The other thing, the sewer backup policy, so Jeff and I have been working on that. We've had a couple of meetings. It went over to Matt Jane, and Matt kicked it back to us, and he requested that I speak with Brandon about their process and also Decker, our insurance company, and what they want to see. I did talk with you yesterday, and we'll be creating something for that. Decker does have a sewer backup package, and I have it. Kevin, I talked with him yesterday, he sent that over last night after hours, so I still have to look at that. But we'll incorporate it, then we're going to, Jeff and I will sit down with Matt and we'll go through everything, but we're getting really, really close, and this is gonna be very helpful. So if this situation ever comes up, we'll know exactly what to do. We won't be, scrambling. So that's really exciting. And then Kevin last night had some ideas for communication, and we've talked about some different things for communication. So on the back of the bill, it's blank, I think. I'm assuming it's blank. I've heard it's blank, but we could have messages on the back, like only flush toilet paper.
Have something for radon month and for all that other stuff too.
No, not that so much, but just anything that would be a reminder.
Like copper.
Lead and copper sampling, that would,
Yeah,
if we
put
send
lead
it
and
out like
copper on there.
that it's typically June to September.
Yeah.
You know
something
about,
else.
Huron Watershed Council has a Trello program where they have tip sheets, that they let people use, I'm sure they're on all sorts of water topics, and basically they have an entire campaign set out, and you can just, pull them out for, one a month on their Trello campaign. I don't know if you deal with the Huron Watershed Council, but Dexter does, and
We do. Well, this is more for the residents, the customers, that will be helpful for them to maybe lower their water, check your, just different.
Clean your aerators.
Yeah, different tips like that.
Yes, make sure that stormwater,
Friendly.
stormwater grates are clean. Actually in lots of cases, just make sure you keep your swales clean.
Yeah, and we could review that, but we have a back sheet, and I think, I don't know if people will read it, but at least we are communicating and putting that out there. It's just a proactive, and it will, in a win-win. And I was writing down as I was talking to Kevin, and I left that in my office, so. Anyways, and I think that's it, so. And if somebody doesn't have, wanted the full packet, but they didn't bring it with them or needed it, you can always look here, because I'll have the packet for every meeting. And if there's anything else that you would like in this binder, please let me know, and I will make a tab for it. It's kind of fun putting this together.
And it's
Maps in it.
possible to hand a base version of that out to everybody.
Yeah, that would be great.
Well, you do have this information. Over time, it's been sent out.
I know.
Yeah, so what I could do is make a list of what's in here, and then, like, there's the consent judgments. I don't know if everybody has those, but if you need.
Just in general, as a backdrop. And again, it's one of those things that when we talked about it, it's like, we had a lot of new board members come in. And it's like, okay, we understand what LASA is, kind of, but you don't have all the background, you don't have all this other stuff, the scheduling, the other stuff, and being somebody coming in new saying, here's LASA. So when we talk about stuff, I don't have to say, hey, Jillian, can you send me the articles of incorporation? And I know we've talked about it, but we've only talked about it because we talked about changes in it. That,
Right.
And normally, that's something that there should be a folder that's handed out to every member that says, here's the basics. It doesn't have to have all the schedules and all the other things in it, but like a map of the system, once we get it, GPS, it can show it. It can show, what are articles of incorporation, a basic book. That you can have a master book and a basic book for everybody. And those things, those are things that aren't going to change too, because then your articles, unless we do a amendment to it that's not gonna change. And so people that come after us, they can get handed a book and hit the ground running.
Yeah, we'll have to, hopefully, people that run for office will get elected, re-elected, and it's
Right.
not a brand-new board. But if we have,
Is a copy of the NPDS permit in
I can send you the permit.
there? Okay.
If-
Or just
yeah,
give me
if
a
you
copy,
want it.
'cause I went down a, the deep
Send.
dive on the Michigan State map thing, and then you can go down to our system, and
That looks
Right,
great.
on MI Enviro, yeah,
they've got 7 pages of everything we've submitted.
yep.
So you can find stuff, but it's kind of hard
Get
to,
to it.
Right.
titles don't always make sense, and what's labeled permit is divided up into anything back and forth with it.
Right, and there's
It's
the
really-
RMP, and there's the drinking water permit, and then there's the sanitary survey, and they all cover different stuff.
Those are the primary Bibles probably we want to be aware of, right?
okay, PDS, what was the?
And I can, and
Or
PDS, and the RMP handles sludge hauling, and sanitary survey is for drinking water, and then for drinking water side, they send out an annual letter saying they want you to do for the next year. And Lead and Copper also has an annual letter that they send out saying, what, if you're good or bad. And,
The problem with the drinking water sample schedule they send out, they don't send it till the end of February and it starts in January.
right, yes, that's,
Well, these are things that a future board, especially if they're new, need to know, and we could just put that in there, anything you can think of, without overwhelming too much.
and put it on a web page somewhere.
Well, we do have the water, lossowater.org. Oh, Dave, and you have access to that, so you would be able to change things?
Yeah, I'd have to go dig through my notes, but if you wanted a bunch of PDFs uploaded there, I could go in and mess with that.
Okay, yeah, I think that's a future project
Future
for us.
project?
We need to
I
look
could
at
put
that
a
and see.
section. But yeah, I have to check and see if there's, I think that we've communicated that to the general users. I don't know whether we necessarily want to have all these documents.
That's there
No.
for, right.
So we got to be careful about that.
Yeah,
I don't know if that site has a, board-only login.
Well, the NPS permit is on the state
It's on public.
website, that's public information.
Yeah. I mean, that's it, yeah.
well, but we need to check out our website anyways and see if there's what we need to do, and maybe there's more that we need to add to it and maybe not. But I would really like to have, and we've all talked about this, and even the LAIA board has requested to have better communication between us. So, yeah. Okay, so if you don't mind, let's move on, but we do have the residential cross connection program. We have Lenny from Hydrocore. He has a presentation for us, or a short, so I want to move, they're at I-4, I-4, and if we can move them up and then talk about the other two
Right.
after.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, all right. Okay, Lenny,
Goodness.
let me get over to, and he's not there. Okay, well,
Probably saw that we had 3 more things before we got to him.
yeah, and it wasn't, he'll be at the board meeting. So the presentation is in here, and actually Brandon and I met with him.
Yeah, I can help you with this.
What was that?
A couple weeks
A
ago.
couple weeks ago, yeah.
I forgot to ask about the valve turning, any more of that?
I did get a proposal. I think it came out after Jillian.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, it's not, okay,
It
right,
wasn't in the packet.
right.
Which reminds me,
What?
let me go back to my report.
No, that ship sailed.
No, you're gonna love this, because this was also your idea. Kind
Don't
of.
blame stuff on me.
Well, you said to me, Jillian, what happened to a week before? right?
Yes.
Okay,
I did.
so here, and it's in
Yeah,
the
I,
packet, okay?
I like the table.
Oh, are you getting back to the table?
Yes, the
Table's
table.
good.
Yeah, table's great.
Okay, so everyone, and I know that sometimes things come up, but you know, if we want to have information ahead of time, then we need to stick with the schedule as much as possible. You know, Scioto Township does this all the time, they add things late over
Webster
the
does too.
weekend. You know, and if it's not here, then it can wait.
It can wait till the next time. Okay,
Okay,
all
so
right, that's fine.
what I need to ask of you, Andrea, is if you could send out an email reminder on the dates, you know, like the next one would be March 26th for items due on March 30th. And then the
Or
packet
next.
will be sent to our committee on April 2nd for the April 9th meeting. And we'll
Okay.
also have one for the board. I put one
We
together.
should have
for
a
them.
phone list.
Yeah, excellent.
We could have a phone list too.
Yeah, we should have a phone list. So, yeah, great.
Okay,
Here, you're different, so I'm gonna hand it to you first.
What? I don't want to put my phone on there.
Okay, you can hand it to the next person
he
then.
doesn't answer anyway, so. All right, going back to the residential cross-connection program. Put the binder aside.
Internal use only.
Okay.
You want me to put it on the website?
Actually, you know what I'm gonna do?
There's got to be a list there somewhere anyways.
That's the wrong one.
We're moving on to
Cross-
I-1.
Cross-connection. Yeah, or I-4.
He's not there, is he?
No, but we'll just go through it because
Yeah,
it's,
Well, I already have branded stuff unless it's changed.
Well,
it
yeah,
hasn't changed.
Figured you had his number.
Yeah.
so Brandon, go ahead with this.
Yeah, so basically HydroCorp took and looked at all of our, you know, the total number of residents we have, and all of that, and broke it down into a cost for us to do between the residential and the commercial. We only have one commercial, which is the wastewater treatment plant. There's 4 total backflow preventers there. And when the proposal for full turnkey with residential plus commercial is over 5 years. So over 5 years is $34,363.38.
Okay.
So they broke
They
that down.
broke it down to 8 years? Yeah, I saw it.
5 years is the way they do it. It takes 10 years to do every one of them,
Okay.
but they broke it down to 5 years. That's how they like to do their contracts, is 5 years. Because then if there happens to be somebody else that comes up that does it better, gives you a better price, you could switch to them. Or, you know, some people take it over themselves, things like that. And they broke down the cost. It looks like monthly is like $528.70. I want to say that was
150 a visit, 65 visits a year. something
Yeah,
like that.
60, I think it's 66 visits. Yeah, 66 visits a
I mean,
year.
It seemed reasonable for having someone come in, spend some time doing informational and then inspection.
Yeah, they send the-
$150, hard
Yeah,
to,
I
Is
actually
this
got
external or internal?
both, I think, right?
both.
Yeah.
They'll do both. I got the opportunity to sit through a portion of Augusta Township's residential cross connection. They went with HydroCorp. They, so essentially, they'll send the letters out to the people that are on their list. They make their list a little bit robust, so yeah, it's 66, but they'll do 70 or 80 or 100 or whatever, because some people may not be able to do it. So they want to get their 66 a year.
So then you get ahead of it, they get charged a little more, but yeah.
It doesn't look like they charge any more, but they'll also look at our cross-connection program, which probably needs to be updated. And they'll do that, they have all the stuff to do that, it's kind of part of that, you know, and in the plan, they'll have the plan, they'll, with my help, because Eagle has the new My Edwards portal, I have to submit the stuff for
Right.
them, but they'll do all that with, looks like with this cost. And if you break it down, with was it 570, 535?
Yeah, to buck the property. I mean, to buck,
Yeah,
basically.
So I
it's,
try,
monthly
broke it
cost
down.
is $1.03.
yeah. Yeah, it's $1.03 per resident, essentially per home, per month, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it'd be like, what, 309 per quarter?
Yeah, per quarter, which is actually,
That's pretty reasonable.
very, very reasonable.
Yeah, it's just that big ticket cost at first was like, oh my God. But yeah, that makes,
Yeah, and it's, the residential cross connection is coming down the pipe quick, because they got Augusta Township on it. And they
Dexter already got written up as a deficiency on that.
Yeah, so you're gonna have to do it too.
Yeah,
I can get you the contact for hydrochloric.
yeah, no, we've already
Either
doing
do.
this,
Yeah.
and Tim is dragging his heels. So it looks like we're gonna be doing it with program help, but we're not gonna be doing the whole thing through them.
Mhm, yeah,
okay.
and this would be the whole thing.
Curious, one of the things they say customer provided with educational brochure on common cross connections and backflow preventers. Do we have any of those so we can see what they look like, what they're handing out, what they're?
I'm sure they would provide it, they have a template.
I'd love to see what they're actually giving to customers.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
the hammer.
Yeah,
I'm sure they'll provide that.
yeah, if you could get one and maybe send it, and Jillian, if you could send it out to us, that'd be great.
That would have been part of the brochure, the presentation. I've seen the presentation.
Yeah, I'm sure Lenny would have had it. So,
Yeah, because I'm curious what if they don't, it says inspector does not go into kitchens, bathrooms, or private spaces. They go into the basements.
basically, yeah.
Probably looking at the water sprinkler connection, and then
Yes.
outside the,
Hose bibs, water
Hoses.
connectors,
I
yeah.
mean, what else is
Sump
there?
pumps,
Yep.
water softeners.
Yep, I think they provide a certain number of hose bib connections too, the hose bib
oh,
vacuum
like the
breakers.
you mean the water-driven emergency sump pumps?
They do look at that, we did ask about that, they do look at those.
You don't do
They're also looking, they'll take pictures and also look at service line material, which we already know is pretty much all, it is all copper. So,
Yeah, but you still have the houses you didn't get into that are currently listed as unknowns on the DSMI. You could cross them off the list.
and the interior plumbing,
Interior plumbing.
I'd have to look again, but I think there's only like one.
When you pulled it off of the DEQ website, I mean that the free pulled it off. You know, you still have unknowns listed there.
I have to look again.
Right.
Okay.
On the interior plumbing, I think there's only one, but I may be wrong.
Okay. Oh, so it might not help? No, you're all out with building onlys?
We could pull that address and say, hey, do this one first.
Right.
Are there any questions about this program other than the brochure? And that I'll have, at the board meeting, have Lenny do a presentation.
Okay.
I'm going to include something in our agenda list for presentations in case they come up.
So this looks like a good idea. Is this something Eagle is probably gonna require
Oh,
at
yeah.
some point? Is that
Yes.
the issue?
It was actually in the last sanitary survey, they thought we were doing it, but we weren't.
Depends on
And-
the administration.
Do they qualify the companies
Yes.
that you use?
They're the leaders in the state.
We use
The
them
lead,
here
the
at
lead
IO.
company, you know, in the state for this.
They're kind of the only one I know of.
Right, yeah, they've taken it and run.
Okay.
I know some other places that have said they do it, but, you know, they're all way more expensive.
All right. Are we complete with this item? Let's see, go back to I1, Loch Alpine chemical scales.
Yes.
Okay.
So the SO2 scales needs to be replaced. And the one that, the analog scales is the one that I was looking at, which, this doesn't give me the price. It was, I have to look. This one didn't give me the price. I think it was written in the email. It was less than, it was cheaper than all the other digital ones. It was the cheapest one, option that we had.
Do you remember what the, oh, you're looking that
I'm
up?
gonna look it up real quick.
Is that the 2330 mechanical?
Yes, I believe so. $2,784.01.
Not
Oh, wait.
3,000.
Nope, my bad, wrong one. 2,572.84.
And our current scales are,
Yeah, on the SO2.
I think, judging from what you said earlier, that's probably the best bet. It's not a huge investment, and it may be replaced sooner than later, so, by a different system. So, I think it's a good idea to go with the cheaper model,
Yeah, I'm fine with going with the cheaper model.
so we should. I
Recommend,
move we recommend that to the committee.
I second.
I,
Okay, well, yeah, okay, me
Yes.
too.
sorry.
That's fine. Recommend to the board. So that will be on the next, March 23rd.
Okay. Let me know, because I won't be able to make the board meeting. But,
Oh, right.
just let me know, send me an email, and when I get back from Florida, we'll get it ordered.
Okay.
You'll be gone for a month? Is that what it is?
I wish. I'll be back the 30th.
Okay, so just to be clear, the model is the 2330?
2330, it's the mechanical one.
Yeah,
The other two
mechanical.
are digitals.
Okay, couldn't read my handwriting.
You got the price.
2,572 and 84 cents. Great.
Is that installed?
No, we'll install it.
You'll
They'll just
install
ship it. There's nothing to install in it. We just have to move the old one.
It's like a water tank. Okay.
There's no wires, nothing.
Gotcha.
I'll put that in the notes. Okay, last.
We already did I-2, right?
Yeah,
We talked about that one, the notice
Yes, and
in the
then
beginning.
did I4, so now we're back to I3. Excuse me, the Eagle 2026 Drinking Water Monitoring Schedule and Annual Reports Letter.
no major changes. That's always, that's a good thing, that we're it's basically some administrative changes. Are you on MI Edwis?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
The only one, I'll have to look, I have it in my calendar that I've been keeping track of. Since from 2023, we have to sample point TP001, which is the water plant for lead. I believe it's in 27. So next year before March, we have to do that. That is on my calendar to do, because that was part of our stipulation with the 2023 lead and copper.
So where are we with all these reports?
The reports, so the cross-connection one's been done.
Okay.
Consumer confidence report's being reviewed.
We don't do an annual pumpage report because it's already in the water report.
Yeah, we don't have to do that one.
You don't have to do an annual service line replacement report because it's all copper. And the rest is just, the sampling list.
The sampling list, which in the schedule that I sent to Jillian and Andrea today, so if you look at the sample schedule, TP001 has to be sampled before September. I sample in April because
Yeah, get it out over
get it
with.
done and over with, and I've had issues.
Yeah, yes, if in case you have to retest.
Yeah, because I don't know if it was, I don't know if it was with you guys, but a few years ago, we had some issues with SOCs. And basically, the lab collected them, they ran the wrong method on it, and we ended up with a violation on it. I don't know if it was you guys or not, I can't remember, because I deal with several systems, but that's why I do these as early as possible, because if there's an issue, we can resample and it's no big deal.
I vaguely remember.
I think it was, yes, because they called me on the 30th of September and said, oh, we ran the wrong method. I'm like, I don't even have time to resample at this point. And this wasn't even our fault, we collected the samples.
Yeah.
So, I've moved that to make sure we get it done.
Okay. Well, anything else here?
I-5 was the mowing contract, right?
I'm sorry?
The I-5 was the mowing
I-5,
contract.
Oh,
We
oh,
had
lawn,
none.
yes, lawn care contract.
I have the old agenda.
Right, yes, thank you.
Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So, as Andrea said, LAIA is recommending, I guess we partner, and I mean, this is a no-brainer, so we'll send it to the board for approval and we'll be done with it.
Yep.
I think I already put that on the agenda, so, but just in case. All right, so now's the time for public comments, but I'm gonna check, there's nobody online, but I'm gonna check with Lisa. I think Lisa is the rep from, is it North Delhi or? One of the other two HOAs. Let's see if she's still here. Would anyone like to speak who's online? If you do, please raise your hand. No, I guess that's it. All right.
Move
My
to
other
adjourn.
committees, I have somebody there to do all this. Yes.
Second.
And
Yes,
at what
okay.
time do we have? I don't have a,
244.
at 2:44? So there was a motion and a support,
From Jillian, yes.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Approve.
and then,
All in favor?
yeah,
All
all
in
in favor,
favor.
say aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you. Thanks, Ted.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
I need to get some lunch.
Lunch, what's that?
Good afternoon.
See you,
I
Ted.
got a quick question for you.
Yeah.
So.
All right.
But, so I turned them in tap last week.
I have,
Real
let me
small
stop.
So
the,
when and how is chlorine
Recording here.
added to our water?
Chlorine is added at the point of discharge from the well, and then it goes through the iron filter, so it oxidizes the iron, then goes through the iron filter. We carry enough through so that we don't have to add after.
Right.